Captain Lee Taeho stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the stars drift past through the massive view screen. The battleship moved through space like a metal mountain, its hull stretching over 2 kilometers from nose to tail. Inside its armored walls, nearly 3,000 people worked to keep the giant ship running. Taeho had been the captain for 3 years now. Before that, he spent 12 years working his way up through the ranks. He knew every deck, every system, and every sound the ship made. The Indomitable was his home, and these people were his family. "Captain, morning report," said Commander Park Seo-jin as she walked up to his chair. She carried a datapad with the night's events. Seo-jin had been his first officer for 2 years. She was smart, tough, and never missed anything important. "What do we have today?" Taeho asked, taking the pad. "All systems running normal. Engine efficiency at 96%. Chief Kim says he can get us 2 more % if we give him another day. Weapon systems tested and ready. No problems with the crew." Taeho nodded. Kim Do-won was the best engineer in the fleet. If he said he could improve the engines, he would do it. The man could fix anything and make it run better than when it was new. "Any word from command?" Taeho asked. "Patrol route stays the same. We keep watching Sector 7 Alpha for another week, then head back to Earth for supplies." The sector was quiet most of the time. A few small trade ships passed through, and sometimes a science vessel studying the gas giant in the system. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. The border between human space and alien territory needed watching. Taeho looked around the bridge. Lieutenant Yoon Ji-woo sat at the weapons station, checking targeting systems that probably worked perfectly. She was young, but had the best scores at the academy in 50 years. Her hands moved over the controls like a pianist playing music. At the medical station, Dr. Han Soo-bin reviewed health reports from all decks. She made sure the crew stayed healthy and ready for anything. Soo-bin treated everything from broken bones to space sickness. She also helped people deal with the stress of being so far from home. "Captain," called the communications officer, "we're getting something strange on long-range sensors." Taeho walked over to the sensor station. The screen showed the usual dots of light that marked planets, asteroids, and empty space. But at the very edge of their range, something flickered. "What am I looking at?" he asked. "Energy readings, sir. Very faint. Could be engine signatures, but they're too far away to be sure." Seo-jin joined them at the station. "How many contacts?" "Hard to say. Maybe 6 or 7. They're right at the limit of what we can detect." Taeho studied the display. In 15 years of service, he had learned to trust his instincts. Something felt wrong about this. Ships didn't usually travel in groups through empty space unless they had a reason. "Keep watching them," he ordered. "Let me know if they get any closer or if you can get a better reading." The bridge returned to its normal quiet activity. People did their jobs with the smooth efficiency that came from months of working together. But Taeho felt a tension in the air that hadn't been there before. He walked to his ready room, a small office behind the bridge where he could think in private. The walls were covered with pictures of his family back on Earth and awards from his years in service. On his desk sat a photo of his first ship, a small destroyer where he learned what it meant to command. The door chimed, and Seo-jin entered. "The sensor readings are getting stronger. Definitely ships, and they're moving this way. How long until they reach us?" "At their current speed, about 6 hours. But sir, there's something else. The computer thinks they might be hegemony vessels." Taeho felt his stomach tighten. The hegemony was a group of 12 alien species that controlled a large part of the galaxy. Humans had met them 5 years ago when both sides were exploring the same region of space. Since then, there had been careful talks and trade agreements, but no real friendship. The aliens seemed to think they were better than humans. They had older technology and bigger ships. Most importantly, they had been in space much longer. Humans were still newcomers to the galaxy, and the hegemony liked to remind them of that fact. "Have they tried to contact us?" Taeho asked. "No, sir. They're still too far away for normal communications." "What does command say about hegemony ships in this sector?" I checked the latest reports. "No scheduled meetings or trade missions? They're not supposed to be here." Taeho returned to the bridge with Seo-jin. The crew continued their work, but he could see the tension spreading. Word traveled fast on a ship, and everyone knew something unusual was happening. "Ji-woo," he called to the weapons officer. "Run a full diagnostic on all weapon systems. I want everything ready just in case." "Yes, sir. Should I load the missile tubes?" "Not yet. Just make sure everything works." The next few hours passed slowly. The unknown ships got closer and the sensors got better readings. They were definitely hegemony vessels, sleek and organic looking like they had been grown instead of built. Their energy signatures matched the Veltar species, one of the more aggressive members of the hegemony. "Captain," the communications officer called out. "We're getting a message." "Put it on screen." The main display flickered, then showed the inside of an alien ship. The creature looking back at them had gray skin, large black eyes, and no visible mouth. When it spoke, the words came from a translation device. "Human vessel, this is Commander Zalthek of the Hegemony Fleet. You will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded." Teho kept his voice calm. "This is Captain Lee Teho of the United Earthship Indomitable. You are in human space. State your business here. Human space no longer exists. The Hegemony Council has decided that your species requires supervision. You will surrender your vessel and crew for processing." The bridge fell silent. Every person stopped what they were doing and stared at the screen. Teho felt his heart beating faster, but his voice stayed steady. "I'm afraid I can't do that, Commander. We are on a peaceful patrol mission. If you have concerns about human activities, please contact our diplomatic corps." The alien's large eyes seemed to focus directly on him. "You misunderstand, human. This is not a request. Your species has shown dangerous tendencies. The galaxy requires order and we provide it. Surrender now or we will take your ship by force." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in shocked silence. Teho looked around at his crew. These were good people who had families back home. They had signed up to explore space and protect Earth's interests, not to start a war. But sometimes war found you whether you wanted it or not. Captain Lee Teho stared at the empty screen where the alien commander had been moments before. The bridge stayed silent as his crew waited for orders. He could feel their eyes on him, trusting him to make the right choice. "Sir," the communications officer said quietly, "we're getting another signal. It's not from the hegemony ships. Put it through." This time a human face appeared on the screen. The man looked terrified with sweat running down his face. Behind him, Teho could see people crying and screaming. "This is Captain Choi Wansu of the civilian transport New Busan. We're carrying 400 colonists to New Seoul. 6 alien ships surrounded us an hour ago. They're trying to board us. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." The transmission cut to static, then went dead. Commander So-jin moved closer to Teho. "Sir, the New Busan is on our navigation charts. It's a passenger ship, mostly families moving to the outer colonies." "How far?" Teho asked. 20 minutes at full speed." Teho closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about his own family back on Earth, his wife Minna and their 2 children. What if they were on that ship begging for help while aliens tried to take them away? "All hands, this is the captain," he announced over the ship's communication system. "We have a civilian vessel under attack by hegemony forces. We are going to help them." Battle stations, all departments, the bridge exploded into activity. Red lights flashed as the battle alarm sounded throughout the ship. People ran to their positions, their training taking over. In the engine room, Chief Kim Do-won pushed the fusion reactors to full power. The huge ship began to move faster through space. Lieutenant Yoon Ji-woo's hands flew over the weapons controls. "All systems ready, Captain. Railguns charged, missiles loaded, defense screens active. Take us in. But keep our distance until we can see what we're dealing with," Teho ordered. The view screen showed the stars streaming past as the Indomitable raced toward the transport ship. When they arrived, Teho saw something that made his blood run cold. The New Busan hung in space like a wounded bird. 6 alien ships surrounded it, their strange organic hulls pulsing with green light. 2 of the alien vessels had attached themselves to the transport like parasites. Through the New Busan's windows, Teho could see flashes of light that meant fighting was happening inside. "Open a channel to the hegemony ships," he ordered. The same gray-skinned alien commander appeared on screen. This time he looked annoyed. "Human captain, you should not have come here. This does not concern you. Those are human civilians on that ship," Teho said. "Release them immediately. These humans will be processed and relocated to areas where they can be properly supervised. Your species requires guidance. The galaxy has rules and we enforce them." "What rules? Who gave you the right to attack innocent people?" The alien's large black eyes seemed to grow even darker. "We are the hegemony. We have maintained order in this galaxy for 10,000 years. Your species appeared only yesterday and already you spread like a disease. You build weapons, you fight among yourselves, you take resources without asking permission. We're exploring and settling empty worlds. We're not hurting anyone. You do not understand. Every species thinks they are special. Every species believes they deserve freedom. But freedom without control leads to chaos. We have seen it happen before. On the tactical display, Sojin pointed to the alien ships. Sir, they're preparing to board us too. Energy readings suggest they're charging their weapons. Taeho felt anger building in his chest. These aliens thought they could just take human ships and human lives. Because they decided humans needed supervision. They acted like parents dealing with misbehaving children. Commander Zalthek, Taeho said, keeping his voice level. I'm giving you one last chance. Release the transport ship and leave human space. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. You are one ship. We are 6. Your weapons are primitive compared to ours. Surrender now and we will be merciful. The transmission ended. On the tactical screen, the alien ships began to move toward the Indomitable. Their weapons started to glow with deadly energy. They're targeting our engines and weapons, Jiwoo reported. They want to disable us, not destroy us. Taeho looked around the bridge at his crew. These people had families too. They had dreams and hopes for the future. The aliens wanted to take all of that away because they thought humans were too dangerous to be free. All hands, this is the captain, he announced. The hegemony has demanded our surrender. They want to process us like cattle. They think we're too young and stupid to govern ourselves. He paused, thinking about his next words carefully. But we know something they don't know. We know that humans don't surrender. We don't bow down to bullies. We don't let innocent people suffer while we watch. Today we show them what humans are really made of. The crew cheered, their voices echoing through the corridors of the ship. In the engine room, Kim Do-won gave his reactors every bit of power they had. In the medical bay, Dr. Han Subin prepared for casualties. All over the ship, people made ready to fight for their freedom. Jiwoo, Taeho said quietly. Target the ships attacking the transport first. We save the civilians, then we deal with the rest. Yes, sir. Weapons locked and ready. The alien ships fired first. Beams of green energy raced across space toward the Indomitable. The crew braced for impact, expecting their ship to shake apart under the alien assault. But something unexpected happened. The alien weapons hit the battleship's armor and simply bounced off. The energy beams scattered like light hitting a mirror, doing no damage at all. Shields holding at 100%, Sojin reported, surprise clear in her voice. Their weapons barely scratched us. Commander Zalthek's face appeared on screen again, but this time he looked confused and angry. Impossible. Our weapons can penetrate any known armor. Taeho smiled for the first time since this began. You know what your problem is, Commander? You underestimated us. You thought we were primitives with simple technology, but you never bothered to find out what we can really do. The alien's expression changed from confusion to something that might have been fear. Jiwoo, Taeho said calmly. Show them what human weapons can do. Fire. Lieutenant Yoon Jiwoo pressed the firing button, and the universe exploded with light. The Indomitable's main railguns fired tungsten slugs the size of telephone poles at 15% the speed of light. The metal projectiles crossed the distance to the alien ships in less than a second. When they hit, the results were devastating. The first hegemony vessel, one attached to the civilian transport, simply vanished. The railgun slug passed through its hull like it was made of paper. Atmosphere and debris scattered into space as the ship broke apart in a silent fireball. The second ship tried to dodge, but the computer-guided projectile adjusted its path. The tungsten slug punched through the alien vessel's center, spinning it like a broken toy before it too exploded. On the bridge of the Indomitable, the crew watched in shocked silence. They knew their weapons were powerful, but seeing them work against real targets was different from training exercises. Direct hits on targets 1 and 2, Jiwoo reported, her voice steady despite the destruction they had just caused. Both ships destroyed. Commander Zalthek's face appeared on screen again. This time his gray skin had turned almost white with fear. What weapons are those? Our intelligence said humans only had basic kinetic projectiles. Captain Taeho kept his expression calm. Your intelligence was wrong about a lot of things. You thought we were weak. You thought we would surrender. You thought you could hurt innocent people without consequences. The remaining 4 alien ships began to spread out, trying to get away from the human battleship. But Jiwoo was already tracking them with targeting computers that could follow thousands of objects at once. The transport is free, Sojin reported. 2 alien ships destroyed, the others are backing off. Get me Captain Choi from the New Busan, Taeho ordered. The civilian captain's face appeared on a smaller screen. He looked exhausted but grateful. Captain Lee, thank you. The aliens were trying to take our people. They had some kind of devices that put people to sleep. Are you hurt? Do you need medical assistance? Some injuries, but we're okay. What were those things? Why did they attack us? Get your ship moving toward human space, Taeho said. We'll explain everything later. Right now, you need to get those families to safety. The New Busan began to move away from the battle area, its engines leaving a trail of blue light as it headed for the nearest human colony. Chief Engineer Kim Do-won's voice came over the communication system from deep in the ship. Captain, I'm reading some interesting data from those alien energy weapons. Their technology is actually quite advanced, but it's designed to work against their own armor types. Against our quantum-locked steel and ceramic plating, it's almost useless. Taeho nodded. Human engineers had spent decades developing armor that could stop everything from laser beams to antimatter bombs. The alien weapons were powerful, but they were designed to fight other aliens, not humans. What about their ships? Sojin asked. Can our weapons hurt them? Oh yes, Kim replied with satisfaction in his voice. Their hulls are grown, not built. They're organic composites, very elegant but not very strong. Our railguns go through them like bullets through wet paper. The 4 remaining alien ships had regrouped at a safe distance. They floated in space, unsure what to do next. Their weapons couldn't hurt the human ship, and they had seen what human weapons could do to them. Commander Zalthek appeared on screen one more time. His large black eyes now held something Taeho had never seen in an alien before. Respect, mixed with fear. Human captain, we may have made an error in judgment about your species. You think? Taeho replied dryly. Perhaps we could discuss this situation. The hegemony values strong species. There might be a place for humans in our organization. Taeho felt anger rise in his chest again. You just tried to kidnap 400 innocent people. You told us we needed supervision like children. Now you want to talk? The galaxy is dangerous. Many species require guidance, but perhaps humans require a different approach. Here's my approach, Taeho said, his voice growing cold. You're going to take your remaining ships and leave human space. You're going to tell your hegemony council that humans are not interested in joining their little empire, and if any of your people attack human civilians again, you'll get a lot more than just 4 ships destroyed. The alien commander seemed to consider this. You speak boldly for 1 ship against the might of 12 species. 1 ship just destroyed 2/3 of your task force in under a minute, Taeho pointed out. How do you think 100 ships would do? Or 1,000? For the first time, the alien looked truly worried. You have more ships like this one. Taeho smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. The Indomitable is a patrol vessel. We have much bigger ships for real fighting. This was true. Back in human space, the shipyards were building dreadnoughts twice the size of the Indomitable, aircraft carriers that could launch fighter squadrons, missile cruisers that could fire nuclear warheads across star systems. The aliens had made the mistake of thinking one battleship represented all of human military power. I will report this encounter to the council, Zalthek said finally. Perhaps we will speak again under different circumstances. Perhaps, Taeho agreed. But next time, remember what happened here. Remember that humans don't surrender and we don't abandon our people. The transmission ended. The 4 remaining alien ships began to move away, their exotic engines leaving strange ripples in space as they departed. Dr. Han Subin's voice came over the communication system. Captain, I'm getting reports from all decks. No injuries, no casualties. The crew performed perfectly. Taeho felt pride swell in his chest. These people had faced their first real battle against aliens and they had won decisively. More importantly, they had saved innocent lives. All stations stand down from battle alert, he announced. Damage control teams check all systems. I want a full report in 1 hour. Sojin approached his command chair. Sir, should we report this to Earth Command? Immediately. Send them all our sensor data, recordings of the alien communications, and a complete battle report. They need to know what happened here. As the crew returned to normal duties, Taeho remained on the bridge thinking about what this meant. The hegemony had tested human strength and found it much greater than expected. But they had also shown their true nature. They believed in controlling other species through force. This wouldn't be the end of it. The aliens would report back to their leaders, and those leaders would have to decide what to do about humans who refused to bow down. Tejo looked out at the stars and wondered if he had just prevented a war or started one. Either way, he knew he had made the right choice. Sometimes standing up to bullies was the only option, even if it meant fighting. The Indomitable continued its patrol, but everything had changed. Humanity was no longer hiding in the shadows of the galaxy. They had announced themselves as a force to be respected, and the consequences of that announcement were just beginning. 3 days after the battle, Captain Lee Tejo stood in the Indomitable's briefing room, watching the most important meeting of his life. On the main screen, Admiral Choi Hee-jin sat behind her desk on Earth, surrounded by other high-ranking officers. Around the table in the briefing room, Tejo's senior staff waited to hear their fate. "Captain Lee," Admiral Choi began, "your actions have created quite a stir back home. The president has been in emergency meetings for 2 days straight." Tejo felt his stomach tighten. "I understand there may be consequences for my decisions, Admiral. I'm prepared to accept full responsibility." The Admiral raised her hand. "Captain, you misunderstand. The president wants to give you a medal. So does every other leader in human space. You saved 400 innocent lives and showed the galaxy that humans aren't helpless." Commander So-jin let out a quiet sigh of relief beside him. Chief Engineer Kim Do-won actually smiled for the first time since the battle. "However," the Admiral continued, "we have a much bigger problem now. Our intelligence services have been working around the clock since you sent your report. What we've learned is disturbing." The screen changed to show a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked hegemony territory, while blue dots showed human colonies and outposts. Tejo could see that red dots surrounded many of the blue ones. "The hegemony has been positioning fleets around our outer colonies for months," Admiral Choi explained. "They weren't just testing you, Captain. They were preparing for a full invasion." General Song Min-ho appeared on the screen next to the Admiral. He was the head of Earth's defense forces, a man known for his careful planning and strategic thinking. "Captain Lee, the battle data you sent us has been invaluable. Our weapons designers are amazed at how effective our railguns were against alien hull materials. But we need to know more about their capabilities." Lieutenant Yoon Ji-woo leaned forward. "Sir, their energy weapons were powerful but designed for their own technology. Against our armor, they were almost useless. However, they might adapt quickly once they understand our defensive systems. That's our main concern," General Song replied. "We estimate they have several hundred ships in the region. If they decide to attack in force?" Dr. Han Soo-bin spoke up from her seat. "General, I treated some of the civilians from the transport ship. The aliens used some kind of sleep device on them. The people described feeling drowsy and compliant. I think the hegemony has been studying human biology." This sent a chill through the room. The idea that aliens had been secretly studying humans for weaknesses was terrifying. Admiral Choi's expression grew serious. "That brings us to our main decision. Do we prepare for war or do we try diplomacy?" "With respect, Admiral," Tejo said, "I don't think diplomacy is an option anymore. They made their intentions clear. They want to control us because they think we're too dangerous to be free." The screen split to show Ambassador Kang Dong-min, Earth's top diplomat. He looked tired and frustrated. "Captain, I've been trying to contact hegemony representatives for 3 days. They're refusing all communication. Our trade missions have been expelled from their territory. They're definitely preparing for something." Chief Kim Do-won cleared his throat. "If I may, Admiral, our shipyards have been building new vessels for months. The Mars facility alone has 6 dreadnoughts ready for service. The Jupiter orbital yards have 12 more ships in final construction." "How long until they're all ready?" General Song asked. 2 weeks for the completed ships, 6 weeks for the ones still being built." Admiral Choi nodded slowly. "We're also recalling all our deep space exploration vessels. Every ship with weapons is being brought back to defend our territory." The meeting continued for 2 hours as they discussed defensive positions, supply lines, and emergency evacuation plans for the outer colonies. Tejo listened to the scope of human military preparation with growing amazement. Apparently, Earth's leaders had been planning for this possibility for years. "Captain," Admiral Choi said finally, "you and the Indomitable will remain on patrol for now, but with reinforcements. The battleship Dauntless and the cruiser Soul are being sent to your position." After the meeting ended, Tejo's staff remained in the briefing room. They sat in silence for several minutes, processing everything they had learned. "We really might be going to war," Sojin said quietly. "We're already at war," Jiwoo replied. "We just haven't admitted it yet." Chief Kim stood up and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. "You know what bothers me most? They never even tried to understand us. They just decided we were dangerous and needed to be controlled." Dr. Subin nodded. "The people I treated from the transport told me the aliens kept talking about order and stability. They seem to think freedom is a disease that spreads from species to species. Maybe it is," Taeho said. "Maybe that's exactly what scares them." Over the next week, reports came in from across human space. 3 more colony ships had been intercepted by hegemony forces, but these ships had military escorts. The aliens had backed down rather than fight, but they were still watching and waiting. The battleship Dauntless arrived first, commanded by Captain Nam Yiseo, an old friend of Taeho's from the academy. The cruiser Seoul followed 2 days later under Captain Park Min-ho, Sojin's younger brother. The 3 ships formed a patrol group that covered twice as much space as the Indomitable alone. More importantly, they served as a message to the hegemony. Humans were ready for whatever came next. "Any word from our alien friends?" Captain Nam asked during a meeting between the 3 ship commanders. "Nothing," Taeho replied. "They're out there watching us, but they haven't tried to communicate." Captain Park, young but already experienced in deep space operations, studied the tactical displays. "Intelligence thinks they're waiting for orders from their home worlds. The Hegemony Council apparently meets once every few months to make major decisions. How long until their next meeting?" Nam asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3. Taeho looked at his fellow captains. These were good people commanding powerful ships with skilled crews. But even 3 battleships seemed small compared to the Hegemony's vast fleets. "Whatever they decide," he said, "we'll be ready for them." As if summoned by his words, the communication officer's voice came over the ship's speakers. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's from Earth Command, Priority Alpha." Alpha priority meant only one thing: war was coming. The 3 captains looked at each other, knowing that the next message would change everything. The time for waiting was almost over. 6 months later, Admiral Lee Taeho stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the UES Liberator. The massive dreadnought was 3 times the size of his old ship, the Indomitable, and carried enough firepower to level a small moon. Around him, the bridge crew worked with the quiet efficiency that had become the trademark of the human fleet. Through the view screen, he could see the construction of New Humanity Station, a fortress in space that marked the new border between human territory and the rest of the galaxy. Ships came and went constantly, bringing supplies and new colonists to the growing station. "Admiral," Commander Park Sojin said as she approached his command chair. She had been promoted after the Indomitable was upgraded and given to Captain Yoon Ji-woo, who had proven herself ready for command. "We're receiving a delegation from the Kethval Confederacy." Taeho nodded. The Kethval were one of several species that had broken away from hegemony control after news of the human victory spread through the galaxy. They were insect-like creatures who valued individual freedom above all else. "Put them through." The main screen showed a Kethval commander, her 4 arms moving in gestures of respect. When she spoke, her words came through the translation system in a musical tone. "Admiral Lee, the Confederacy wishes to thank humanity once again for showing us that the hegemony can be defeated. Our trade ships now travel freely through space for the first time in centuries." "We're glad we could help," Taeho replied. "How are your people adjusting to independence?" "It is difficult after so many years of control, but we are learning. Some of our young ones ask if they can study at human universities. They want to understand how you build such powerful ships." The conversation continued for another 10 minutes. The Kethval had been the first species to declare independence from the hegemony, but they were not the last. 3 other species had followed, and more were considering it every day. After the call ended, Sojin updated him on the day's reports. The colony ship New Seoul made it safely to the outer rim. No hegemony interference. The defense platforms around Earth are now fully operational, and we received word that the peace talks with the Veltar are going well. Taeho smiled at that last piece of news. Commander Zalthek, the alien who had threatened to board the Indomitable 6 months ago, was now part of a Veltar faction that wanted to make peace with humanity. It turned out that many of his people were tired of taking orders from the Hegemony Council. Any word from the front lines? Tejo asked. Admiral Nam reports all quiet in Sector 12. The hegemony fleet pulled back to their core systems last month and hasn't moved since. Captain Kim thinks they're trying to decide what to do about the rebellion. The rebellion. That's what historians were already calling it. What started as one human battleship refusing to surrender had become a galaxy-wide movement for freedom. Species that had been under hegemony control for thousands of years were suddenly declaring independence. Chief Engineer Kim Do-won's voice came over the communication system from the engine room. Admiral, the new quantum drive systems are working perfectly. We can now travel between star systems in days instead of weeks. Excellent work, Chief. How are the other ships handling the new technology? Better than expected. The young engineers adapt quickly. Give us another year, and we'll have ships that can cross the galaxy in a month. Tejo walked to the tactical display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Blue dots marked human territory and their allies. Red dots showed the remaining hegemony systems. Yellow dots marked neutral zones where various species were deciding which side to join. The map told an amazing story. 6 months ago, humanity controlled less than 1% of the galaxy. Now, the Free Alliance of Species controlled nearly 20%, and the number was growing every week. Dr. Han Soo-bin entered the bridge carrying a medical report. She had been promoted to Chief Medical Officer for the entire fleet, and her research into alien biology had become crucial for treating wounded allies. Admiral, I have the latest health reports from our new allies. The Mordai delegation is adjusting well to our environmental systems. The Keithval Medical Exchange program is working perfectly, and I have some interesting news about hegemony prisoners. What kind of news? Many of them are asking for asylum. They don't want to return to hegemony space. Apparently, word of our treatment of prisoners has spread, and some aliens prefer human justice to hegemony punishment. This was another unexpected development. Human forces had captured several hegemony ships during border skirmishes, and the treatment of alien prisoners had become a propaganda victory. Unlike the hegemony, which processed captured enemies, humans treated prisoners according to strict rules about dignity and rights. How many prisoners are we talking about? Tejo asked. Nearly 3,000 across all our facilities. They're requesting permission to stay in human space and help with the war effort. Ambassador Kang Dong-min appeared on a communication screen. He was calling from Earth, where he now coordinated diplomatic efforts with dozens of species. Admiral, I have an update on the political situation. The Hegemony Council met yesterday, and our sources say they're split. 5 species want to negotiate peace with us. 4 species want to launch a massive attack. 3 species are considering leaving the hegemony entirely. What about the Veltar? Commander Zaldtek's faction is gaining support. They argue that humans proved their strength and deserve respect, not conquest. But the hardliners still control their military. Tejo considered this information. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone had expected. The simple act of refusing to surrender had started a revolution that was reshaping thousands of years of established order. Admiral, Lieutenant Yu Sang-min called from the communication station. We're getting a priority message from Captain Jiwoo on the Indomitable. Yoon Jiwoo's face appeared on screen. She looked excited but also concerned. Admiral, we've made contact with a new species. They call themselves the Zenith Collective, and they've been hiding in the Outer Rim for centuries. They want to join our alliance, but they have a warning for us. What kind of warning? They say the hegemony has a secret weapon, something they've been building for decades in case they ever faced a real threat. The Zenith don't know what it is, but they're scared of it. Tejo felt a chill run down his spine. Just when it seemed like humanity was winning, a new threat appeared. But as he looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew, he felt confidence return. These people had already faced the impossible and won. Thank you for the warning, Captain. We'll be ready for whatever comes next. As the communication ended, Tejo returned to the view screen. Construction continued on New Humanity Station, a symbol of everything that had changed since that day when aliens first threatened a human battleship. They had targeted one ship, expecting easy victory. Instead, they had awakened something they couldn't control, the human spirit of freedom, and the willingness to fight for it no matter the odds. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how Tejo wanted it.